Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Hello and welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show. You can find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You could find us on YouTube. And please remember to like and subscribe and post comments. My guest today is an original, Mike Young. He is the Chief Foodie Officer. I'll repeat that, the Chief Foodie Officer. Not everybody has a title like that. A Chief Foodie Officer of a plantbaseddiet.org. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I came across you recently because apparently you've been posting videos, what you call a V-book, something like 150 plus videos.
Yes.
About how to live to 150. So how old are you, Mike?
I'm 53 years young.
Okay, so you have about 100 years left to go.
Yes.
And when did you stumble upon this information, or how did you learn that it's possible to live to 150?
All right. Well, I'd say it's based on my own personal experience. The entire book is. And to start off with, to answer your question about why I think it's possible to live to 150, well, I like to look at things as I live. You know, over 50 years of life, I've seen a lot of things, focused on a lot of health problems. I think, nobody likes to have health issues. So usually they get highlighted when somebody has a health issue. And my question has always been, well, why? Why does this person have this health issue? What's going on? Like, especially if it's a relative or an older relative. I'm like, well, am I next? Like, if this relative has a knee problem or a hip problem, like, oh my gosh, I must have bad genes. I guess that's going to happen to me next. But the more I kind of dove into this, especially with the advent of the internet, right, in the 90s, the late 90s, I discovered, and it was a library before that. I've been an adult, all the way through. I was raised in the 70s and 80s, been an adult through the 90s and beyond. So start off in the library, researching things, which is old school for people I know, reading books. And then when the internet came along, it was just an amazing source of information. I know that unfortunately most people don't use it for that. They kind of goof off and play games and things, but I don't. I'm much more interested in learning, and I'm still learning. But what I've learned up to this point is that the average person doesn't have the knowledge to live the proper lifestyle, yet still lives to 75 years young on average, approximately. I think we can all agree on that. And without any formal training, or really, I mean, you have loved ones raising you, and they do the best they can. But in past generations, we didn't have the internet. So we didn't really have that all-encompassing source of information. And I think we all know a lot of the information is false on the internet too. So you have to weed through all that. But my hypothesis is that if the average individual can live to 75 years young without basic knowledge and with doing almost everything wrong, according to my observations of people's lifestyles, what if they tried to do everything right? What would happen? I think that you'd probably be able to double your lifespan. I think that's a reasonable assumption. So if you're going to live,
so that it just comes down to an assumption. You're assuming doing everything wrong, 75, do everything right, double it.
Correct. Yes, I think
you don't know anyone who's 150.
No. Do we know anybody that's been raised with all this knowledge through the internet? No. I mean, no. We're entering a new era at this point. Right.
Well, let me ask the question that occurs to me. I think it occurs to most people when they first hear that it may be possible to live to 150, which is, how is the sex at 140? What do you think?
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, the general answer to that is we don't know yet. Okay. is,
Are there any special precautions you need to take? Now, assuming your partner's the same age, I don't think you need to take contraceptive precautions.
probably not. Yeah, if one of them's reached menopause, yeah, of course not.
Right.
And I don't envision a frail aging process, like a decades and decades of constant illness at the end.
Uh-huh.
Who wants that? I mean, I want actual life,
Right.
fun, enjoyment, and yeah, sex is definitely part of that. So I would sure hope that's going to be there at 140.
Okay, so that will be there at 140. Now, you're a married man, right?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been married?
At this point, since 2018 December, it's a
Oh,
second
oh,
marriage
so,
for me.
so, okay.
Second marriage, yeah.
I got married only once, and I was 40 when I got married. So I married kind of late.
Well, that's
Um,
wise. You were wise.
well, okay. And the thing is, I love my wife, but honestly, when I think about it, after 100 years, I mean, 100 years with one person. So I'm thinking, if I were to get divorced at 140 after 100 years of marriage, um, that would be a complicated process. You
Yes.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
you
we
go.
haven't. No one's lived that. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that I think I talk about this in the book, the blue zones, right? We know about the blue zones. Now,
Right,
the blue zones are those 5 areas where people generally live to around 100 years old, which is awesome. However, they have more centurions, 100 years or more than most places.
right,
And this is all looking back now because this has already happened. And actually, most of those blue zones aren't as pure as they used to be because of everyone going everywhere now. Okay, they
mm,
probably will never return. They were just areas that were isolated and they did a lot of things right. So we look back historically and say, oh, what'd they do? What'd they do? They did this, and the other thing. I think that going forward with all this knowledge and with a lot of like-minded people joining together in certain areas, which we're involved with many of these projects, that there will be new blue zones that are happening right now. Okay, and these blue zones will not be recognized for another 50 or more years, like fully understood. Like I need to see the proof. Come on, this is preposterous. But what I see in general society is like I can't live in general society or within the way society works because most everyone's sick when you get over 50. Literally, you probably know. I mean, almost everyone's chronically ill. You know,
well, that's what I'm talking about getting divorced at 140. Because let's say that your wife says at age 100, that's it, no more sex. Then by 140, you're going to have another blue zone. So my question would be, let's say you do decide to get divorced at 140, and you go to a divorce attorney who's 35. Is she going to understand? I mean, how do
yeah.
you navigate that situation?
Well, I think that relationships are part of longevity. Ideally,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I would wish that this didn't happen, but how do I navigate it? Well, there's going to be some, I'm sure, unique facets to that aren't taking place in divorces now. Younger
Uh-huh.
people, I went through the divorce process.
Uh-huh.
My marriage is my second marriage.
How long had you been married when you went through the divorce?
Well, before the divorce was actually finalized, we did cross 20 years. So
Okay.
that was a long time,
That's a
I
long
mean,
time.
this,
And so I'll bet that that was difficult.
yes, it was absolutely, and I don't wish it on.
After 100 years, it'll be 5 times more difficult.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, you know, who gets the visiting rights to the great 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 grandchildren? Things like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's a lot of things I think that are going to be happening
Mhm.
as we move forward. I think a lot of futurists too agree that people are going to be living longer. There's going to be more advances, even if they're not the advances I'm talking about, because the advances I talk about in the book are really lifestyle choices. They're not scientific advances. When you combine them with scientific advances, people are going to be living a lot longer just because of that. And of course, we have the connectivity now, right, where everyone stays in touch. In the past, if you kind of went away from someone, you may never have heard from them again or even been able to get in touch with them. But
Right.
going forward now, I mean, we all know that's not the case anymore.
Right.
There was a period of time there, I think, where most you talk about divorce. During the time that I got divorced, I was right at the beginning of that time frame where all the adults who had never been on social media suddenly got on Facebook. If you remember that, it was like 2007, 8, 9, 10 was kind of when everyone piled in, I'd say. And then you had this huge issue for about 10 years in there of all of these divorces that took place because people reunited with old flames on the internet that
Oh,
they never
yeah.
thought they would ever get in touch with. All of a sudden they're seeing pictures
Right.
every day coming out from them, and
Right.
didn't know how
Right.
to handle it. That's just a
Right.
reality. People didn't know how to handle it. They, oh my gosh, it's fate.
Yeah.
It's Mark Zuckerberg, connecting you guys with your
Right.
smartphones, but that caused a landslide or an avalanche of divorces. That was the reason during that time frame. I think people have gotten through that now. There's other reasons. There's always going to be reasons, like you point out. So I think that people will become smarter, hopefully, over time. That's my hope. I'm a very optimistic individual.
Well, when you're 140, you can look up the descendants of your old friends, and that would be interesting to contact people and say, I knew your great, 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 great grandparents.
Yes.
People might find that annoying too, though. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you talk about marriage too. I mean, this I didn't discuss this in the book, but you probably may be aware that the younger folks are, the less likely they're getting married now. People aren't even dating anymore in their 20s. If you look at this, okay, and I think a lot of this is because literally, like when you and I grew up, we didn't see except what was right in front of us in our particular area of growing up. Really, we got ABC,
Right.
NBC, and CBS. That's about it, And then eventually they started adding a couple more channels. But nowadays, people growing up see everything all the time, whenever they want it. And of course, they see people who get divorced and are in bad relationships, and they're like, I see this everywhere. Do I really even want this? I can't even
Right.
imagine growing up at a time like that, seeing all this stuff. And I think that who knows how this is going to go moving forward, but I think that maybe relationships will be higher quality going forward too.
Well, let's say you get divorced at 140, and then you start dating again. Do you think you should limit yourself to centenarians,
Mm.
or would you look for a 95-year-old trophy wife?
Yeah, that's so hard to say because
Yeah, that's a tough.
if you look at the dating now, you probably
Yeah.
have seen this. Generally, it's the trend is older guys, younger women. The women have their fertility age pretty much starts to get very bad at 35, usually ends by 45 or so, and men can go on to almost 55. So there's that big gap. But that's the first third of life, as we talked about. So
Right.
playing in that second third and third third, that's not going to be a factor. And I don't even know if people know how to handle that right now, but it's more of a friendship, I would say. I mean, yes, hopefully the sex is still there. Hopefully the parts still work. And if you are healthy, they will. You probably and almost certainly will not reproduce. So you won't have that anxiety part, right? Or a lifelong commitment of raising or 18-year commitment of raising a child, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and maybe it's more about friendship,
Yeah.
and really, I think that having good friendships is what really makes life the most enjoyable, I would think.
Yeah. Boy, life is going to change a lot if we all live. Imagine how hard it'll be to find parking if we all live to
Well,
150.
that's another thing. Okay, you're probably aware, right? Electric cars, Tesla saying
Yeah.
cars are going to drive themselves. So is Google and GM and everybody else who's involved in this stuff. So there won't be a need for parking going forward. Just so you know, I want to give you a little optimism because cars will be driving themselves. They'll be in service 24/7, picking up and dropping off passengers. There's no need to park unless they drive themselves into the repair shop and then they drive themselves out, and that's it.
I think you're more optimistic than I am. Somehow, I don't picture these cars making this effective. Cars driving people and then picking them up. I don't think that's going to work out well.
I think it's
I'll be
in very
waiting
near
for a
future.
ride for years.
Well,
You know,
okay,
I'll be stranded, somewhere.
it'll just be it's an app on your phone. You have a smartphone, right? It's just like Uber or Lyft, only
My
there's
app won't work. My app won't work. I'll have to call for the app repairman, and I'll be stranded, at the grocery store. And these cars will be driving around, never parking. I don't.
All right. Well, you okay?
Listen, it's always easy to be optimistic about the future and say we're going to move into a new phase. Everything's going to be
Yes.
great. I remember when I was in grade school, we were told about this wonderful thing coming in the future called the metric system. Yeah. And I was told when I was, I don't know, 6 years old, that America would be on the metric system within 10 years. And it was going to be wonderful because you just divide by 10, everything is easy on the metric system. And it's many decades later, and we can't even do that.
Right. Right.
So if we can't even go on the metric system, we're going to have cars driving themselves without getting in accidents and bringing everybody where they want to go 24 hours a day. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, look at how far technology has gone. I remember using the first computers that schools had. It seemed like in the 80s. They were horrible.
Yeah.
They could
Oh yeah, technology is going to go far. No question about that. But it's going to go on it's not going to be coordinated how it advances. We're not going to manage this. It manages itself.
Okay. Well, here's an interesting point that you bring up about technology. Now, I mentioned the blue zones. If you look back, obviously they had no technology in those blue zones. I also want to let you know something you may not be aware of that we're working with our nonprofit, which is we are in Ecuador working with totally plant-based eco villages that grow their own food, fully organic, and better than that, chemical free. You can grow it all year round because they're in the Amazon rainforest. You don't even have to irrigate. And yeah, they have technology now, actually, recently, because they connect to the internet. But a lot of people don't want to use that. There is definitely a movement away from technology, to just a more simpler lifestyle that is centered around smaller communities and just taking care of one another. And you don't need any of that technology, really. It's optional.
Well, I'm all in favor of that. So tell us, what are the key points? Certainly, I think diet is your number one point.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say okay.
Let's go over the key points to living to 150.
All right.
Because this way, everyone who's listening now can join this club of
Yes.
living to 150. We can all stay in touch, for the next 100+ years or so, and become a community of very, very wise old people. So what are the number one thing is diet, right?
Number one thing, yes. That's actually chapter.
And that's not eating sausages, is it?
Well, over here on the left, it's
Yeah.
something this is at a minimum we call healthy vegan food. We've developed this through the nonprofit. I can tell you what it is very quickly. It's no animal products.
No animal products.
No alcohol. Alcohol
No
is
alcohol.
one carcinogen. Whatever the prepared food is, it has to have actual plant fiber in it. And then the food itself has to have no added oil, no added salt, and no refined sugar. That's at a minimum. Okay. We won't call anything healthy unless it meets those requirements. And I don't think you're going to be able to live to 150 unless you're a total anomaly and an outlier, which is possible. Okay. Unless you are eating like that. You got to eat and that's the base level. It should really be more strict than that. Okay. So that's chapter 42 of the book. We talk about the food, what you need to eat. And yeah, that is the main thing, because this book is 152 chapters. It's 150 regular chapters and then 2 introductory chapters. So each
now let's just remind the audience, these are not chapters in a physical book with paper. This is a V-book.
Yes.
You can find it at aplantbaseddiet.org, right?
Yes. Or you can go
on YouTube. Right?
Yeah, live250.org, liveto150.org. That's the playlist right to it.
Okay. And is it better to go there than to YouTube?
Yeah, you don't have to find anything. If you go to live250.org, you go straight to the playlist. It'll play them in order. It's on YouTube, like Glenn said, so it's zero waste. We're not printing anything. You can listen to it like an audiobook while you're in the car. It is very, very long. Okay, it's like a life manual. So Glenn's saying to me, like, well, Mike, what are the habits? Of course, food is it. Chapter 42. That is more than half the problem. I say another giant habit, and each chapter is a habit. All right, that's literally what it is, right. Or a psychological issue that you must overcome. in order to be able to do these habits, because of the way we've been raised. A lot of these concepts are, even if I tell you what to do, you're not going to be able to do them, because it's so much different than everything that was done to you before you were born, before you were conceived, after conception in the womb, and then growing outside in the open space, and all of your influences. They were all different than what's in the book, pretty much.
Now,
So
do you have a chapter on divorce at 140?
no, I guess I gotta make
Out of
a epilogue or whatever after.
Yeah.
Add that one at the end.
Yeah, okay.
So okay, another big one.
Yeah.
Daily vigorous aerobic exercise. Okay, now me, I'm standing up. Okay, I am not
Yeah.
sitting down. Okay, I will tell you, sitting is the new smoking. You will never have optimal mental health, in my opinion, unless you get at least 30 minutes and or 12,000 steps of vigorous aerobic exercise every single day. The body's designed to move. I don't care if you're paraplegic, quadriplegic, you can find other ways to get your heart rate up and keep it up for 30 minutes a day. Okay, there's many different things you can do, but the body, we have these arms and legs because we are designed to move. Okay, sitting, actually, I have a chapter on this too. Back pain is a big issue. Okay, I've had back pain for decades. A lot of people go their entire lives, or most of their adult lives, with back pain. Who wants to live like that? Well, I tell you how I believe it can be solved. No
Have you
surgery.
solved your own back pain?
Yes,
How
yes.
did you do that?
Well, there's a couple things, and probably I'll forget one or two, but you can always check that chapter in the book. Number one, sitting is actually, you think you're resting, but no. Almost every seat is designed wrong. So when you are sitting down, your curvature of your spine is actually less than optimal. You're putting that under stress. So if you are sitting in a regular seat, you're actually causing damage to your back. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to get a device called Obisform. It's about $50 to $100, depending on where you buy it. Amazon.com, somewhere in the middle there. Obisform, I talk about it in the chapter. It's actually considered a medical device by the American and Canadian Chiropractic Associations.
How
So
do you spell that word?
OBUS, OBUSFORME. It's got an E at the end.
And
Obisform.
what is an obus form?
It's just like, it looks like a backrest, because you got these little things. Oh, let me put this thing in my back, so I can. It looks like one of those, but it's long. It fits your whole back, and you rest your spine into it, and it puts your spine completely at rest as long as it's centered.
You put it in the chair?
Yes. So you're putting it in the chair, you're using the chair as a holder, and then you're laying back into that obus form. And that it curves. As long as that chair doesn't have any lumbar bulging out, you got to turn all that off, make it flat, put the obus form in, center it, and then lay back in it. I have it in every driver's seat, and I have like two or three cars. With the cars, just have them in there. So when I get in, I am at rest. My desk chair, if I have to sit down, because I try to stand, I have a standing desk, but I still need to sit down, it's there. And I found that has eliminated a lot of problems. Now, along with that, you've got to develop your core. Most people don't develop their core. They hear about strength training, and I have a chapter on strength training for muscles. It is important, especially as you age, to have some base strength. I'm not talking about bodybuilding. Okay, I'm not talking about that. That is not going to help you lift to 150, but you need some base strength. So what you really need to do for your back is you need some core strength. What's the best, quickest way to do that? It's the plank. I do plank 2 to 3 times a week. It's a yoga move, really, but you just hold it. And I explain how to do it, or you can look it up online, but you have to do that, because if you don't do the plank, what happens is, instead of having that core strength where you are, when you pick things up and you're moving things, instead of using those core muscles, you basically throw your back into it. It's a task the back was never designed to do. And then you hurt your back. Same thing with the chairs. You're constantly hurting your back in chairs. You're constantly hurting your back when you pick things up if you don't have the core strength. Another thing is weight.
Well, before you get to weight, naturally,
Yes.
I have the question that probably everyone has who's listening, which is, if you get divorced at 140, who gets the obus form?
Well, I have like 7 or 8 of them, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
so probably 50-50. If you have 8,
all right.
4 go to me, 4,
Okay.
or whatever the judge decides.
Okay. I just hope the judge is like over at least 90.
Yeah, otherwise he can't relate. I mean,
No.
yeah. So okay, weight's another issue. Weight affects the back as much as it does the hips, the knees, the feet. Like
Being overweight is a problem.
yes, I mean, you have to have a normal BMI unless you
Right.
want back problems, hip problems, knee problems, and foot problems.
Well,
Because
you're 53 years old. Have you been at the same weight all your adult life?
pretty much, yes. And actually, I talk about my story in the book. There's a chapter on my story. I mean, I've always been different. I've always been, people say I'm weird. Hey, Mike, you're going to get sick and die because you're doing things so different than everybody else. You know, like I remember when I was growing up at the dinner table with my parents, who, of course, just like everyone's parents, or most parents anyway, they want the best for their kids. They want to do the best. So when they see that I don't eat my chicken or my beef, they're like, Mike, you got to eat that. You're going to be malnourished, you know? And this was in the
Well,
70s and 80s.
well, at what age did you stop eating dead animals?
As far back as I can remember.
Wait, really? I mean, were you 7?
As probably, I don't know, 5 maybe. I mean, as far as I
5.
can remember, I never liked eating any of that stuff, and I refused. I would have to stay at the table for sometimes an hour or 2 until my parents realized that, hey, he's just not eating this. And the reason for me, the reason was I'm looking at something that's bloody. It's got veins in it. It's muscle or some skin with hair or whatever in it. I'm like, why would I want to eat that when I can just
So
eat
you
something
were
else?
instinctively brilliant from a young age. That's
I was
great.
grossed out. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah. And how about dairy products?
no, I didn't make the connection. That's not as obvious.
how old were you when you made that connection?
I really it was 10 years ago. That was the last.
Oh, whoa, you were slow on that.
Yes, I was, because that was the last step. I was
Whoa,
carrying for a while.
you were 43.
Yeah, well, 44 actually is almost 10 years ago. That's when I started the nonprofit. Yes, because
Wow. So at the age of 5, you brilliantly figure out that you shouldn't be eating dead animals, and you foolishly wait till 44 to stop eating their lactation.
well, you got to realize in between all that is all the constantly being told you're going to get sick, you're wrong, what is your problem? And then of course all the peer pressure from all your friends growing up and then high school.
So you were a vegetarian eating dairy for
No, no, well,
much
no,
of
no,
your
no.
no?
Actually, no. Here's how I describe it, and I describe the full story in the book. It's that I had these thoughts, and I was grossed out, and I wouldn't eat unless. And occasionally, I would eat because I thought my parents wanted the best for me, you know, which they did, and I thought that they were telling me the right thing, which they did the best. They thought it was the
Yeah.
right thing, okay,
Right.
and but by the time I went to high school, the peer pressure is so strong. You go into a big 2,000 student school, you know. I actually ate my first hamburger. I remember I used to go up to that point. I used to go to McDonald's,
You
and
ate a hamburger.
yes, because I went to McDonald's. I would always get like a milkshake and French fries, and they're always like, "Sir," or at the time I was really young, but they were like, "You don't want a sandwich?" I'm like, "No, no, definally not." You
They
know, but
called you sir
well, whatever. Yeah,
as a child?
trying to be nice, you know. But maybe they knew I was very wise, an old soul. I don't know. But
Okay.
okay, but then I caved in. I admit it. Okay. The peer pressure is intense when you're going to a
Yeah.
school like that, high school, and you want to conform. You don't want to be an outcast. So especially back in the late 80s, there was no. I mean, what else was I going to do? That was the whole world, right? At that
Yeah.
point in time. Okay, so I went through that through my late teens in high school and into my 20s, eating the way most people did. All right. Now I will say that it didn't affect me as much because I worked in a landscape business. I was self-employed. I worked outdoors every day. It's like I was running a marathon every day. The average person is never going to do that, but that's about the only way you can possibly slow down the effects of a bad diet. Not to say you can stop it, because I didn't. Because by the time I turned 30, I went to my doctor and he said, Mike, your cholesterol is over 200 and you need to bring it down by the next time you see me, or otherwise I'm putting you on medication. And the internet was out then. So I was like, oh, okay, let me look into this. And right away I'm like, oh, it's the food. Of course it's the food, you know. I mean,
But you didn't stop eating dairy.
not at the, well, stopped eating a lot of dairy. I stopped eating
So you cut
butter and
down.
cheese. Butter and cheese were out because they're super high in fat, you know. And I
Okay,
was
so what dairy did you continue eating?
like a skim milk. I'd always kind of gone with the skim milks, low fat yogurts, uh, and yeah, but ice cream at that point in time, at the age of 30, it was ice cream and it was butter and cheese. Those three things, those were I identified what I thought was the worst that I could
Well,
possibly be doing.
they were bad.
Yeah, so I gave them all up, and don't think that just because you eat plant-based ice cream is better now. It's the high fat. The high fat is the problem. That's what you need to stay away from. So any of those ice creams, unless it's super low fat, it's going to cause the same or similar issues. So yeah, that was me lowering my cholesterol in the year 2000, but it wasn't until
Did you lower
2009
did your cholesterol go down?
I felt way better. I stopped eating red meat as well. Okay, so
Wait,
my
wait, whoa! I thought you stopped eating red meat at the age of 5.
I didn't want to. Okay. But like I said, I started eating it late teens, all
Oh,
the way
but so
to
when when the peer pressure started, you
yes.
started eating it again. So
Yes.
how much meat were you eating due to the peer pressure?
I was just eating what everyone else was eating between, I'd say, my late teens, all through my 20s. I was doing what everyone else was
Wow.
doing. And
So
eventually,
you were
like
eating,
just like everyone else, right? It catches up. All of a sudden the doctor
ah.
says, hey, we gotta start looking a little more closely at this.
All right. So you did a lot of damage to yourself in your first 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's bad.
are you still confident you're going to make it to
Yes.
150?
Yes,
How do you undo all that damage? Because I
well,
did, I ate cheese until my
yes.
30s.
Yes. Okay. It's the concept of life. Life always wants to continue. Life will always want to continue unless you suppress it or damage it, or I call abuse enough that it just quits. Okay. Self-abuse apparently, unfortunately, is totally legal in most cases. If we're talking about the diet and lifestyle, totally legal. There's nothing illegal about that. Unfortunately, you can slowly kill yourself over time, and that's nothing. No one's going to say you can't do anything legally. Okay,
Yeah.
for someone like that. Not at this time in 2023. But I think that as time goes on, we will realize don't do that. However, the good part is that just like me, I've reversed. Okay, I went from a cholesterol over 200 to my most recent cholesterol, which was in the one teens. Okay, as long as you are below 150, according to Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, you will never suffer a stroke or heart attack. Your
Well,
stroke and
that's
heart attack,
based on the Framingham study, which
yes,
was almost never found any heart
correct. It's correct.
disease
So it's
in
all
any.
about lifestyle, all about lifestyle, right? Habits. So
Right.
which are legal. You're allowed to abuse yourself. You're allowed to kill yourself slowly over time. Unfortunately, these things are all legal in 2023. So, but the thing is with life, as long as you stop, you listen to the warning signs like disease, non-communicable disease. All non-communicable disease, from my understanding, is simply like a check engine light coming on in your car. It's like, hey, there's something wrong here. So, unfortunately, what we do nowadays, outside of lifestyle medicine, unless you see a doctor practicing lifestyle medicine, which hopefully you do, what they'll do is they'll try to manage those symptoms. They will not say, hey, why is this happening? Let's get to the bottom of this. Because
Right.
if you do, what happens is the body will repair itself. It'll once you start doing the right lifestyle, it'll start repairing
Right.
itself to the point where the disease will go away because the check engine light goes off.
Right. We are self-healing mechanisms, and
Yes.
most doctors are not aware of that.
Yes, so that's where I get even more optimistic. And I look at my own story. There was at least 10 plus years of living the standard American diet and suffering the slow but painful consequences of that. And then I start to pull away from that, and every year gets better.
So at what point did you realize, hey, I should be a vegan?
That was almost 10 years ago in 2014. I was a vegetarian at the time. Uh, and let me also tell you that I've always been labeled a health nut about my whole life, believe it or not. Okay. Even though
Even when you were eating hamburgers?
right, yes, because I was conscious. I was questioning things. And the average person back then didn't question anything. I mean, it's just like, this guy's weird. Why would he do that? So I was always a health nut. 2009, I was a vegetarian. And then I couldn't understand the whole dairy thing. However, I did understand a lot of things about me, which I talk about in the book, that weren't quite right. Now, I didn't think that it would cure it, but what I found was after I got off of dairy in 2014, about almost 10 years ago, started the nonprofit, I had some things that I truly thought were genetic. I'm just telling you, truly, okay, that just went away over time. And I talk about this in the book. Earwax. I used to have severe earwax problems. It used to build up in my ears all the time. Eventually, even with me cleaning them and trying to flush them, I would have to go to the doctor. They'd get this bulb of hydrogen peroxide. They'd have to force it for like a long time to break all the chunks out of my ears for the earwax.
Let me note that this has never been discussed on the Glenn Mercer show before.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well,
tell us more about the
yeah.
earwax.
the earwax, there's no earwax problem anymore. I really thought that, I know my
So
parents.
it was dietary. It was
Yes,
a
it was.
diet.
It was the dairy.
What do we know about what part of the diet brings on earwax?
Well, for me, it was dairy. There's no question
Dairy.
about it because I was already vegetarian. So
Wow.
cutting out the dairy solved that. Another problem was odors, just general body odors. My armpits, my breath, my feet, especially. And you know, when I think about it, in the past when I was noting this, my dad was the same way. And I thought again, oh, this is just genetic. You know, I mean, this is part of the young family genes, and I'm cursed. You know, but I don't have those issues anymore. They've almost completely resolved themselves. Okay, I will smell if I'm running 5 miles or something, but under normal circumstances, it's unbelievable. That's all I have to say is the change. I never would have thought that just by cutting out dairy, that kind of those kind of issues would go away.
Now you are leading this movement to get people to live to 150, and your last name is Young.
Yeah.
Is this a coincidence?
Well, I will say that this is my given name, Young.
Right.
There are others in the longevity movement who have changed their name to Young.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
You can do some research on that if you want to find out who that is. But I'm just
Okay.
telling you, that's my real name. I don't do anything to alter myself either. No
Okay.
cosmetic procedures or whatnot. Okay. I've just been not perfect, as we've discussed. There's been periods of my life where I have done just as everyone else has done. But in general, I have always tried to do the best I can, and especially in the last couple decades. And I do believe that it is what makes a difference. Others choose different methods, altering appearances, procedures, etc., etc. I don't think I'll ever want to do any of those things. I don't think they're necessary.
Well, unless it's the lighting, you look pretty good for 53. And how many push-ups can you do?
Right now, about 20. I wish I
It's
could do more.
the exact same with me. You know, when I was 10 years old, I was able to do 20 push-ups. And then when I was 20 years old, I could do 20 push-ups. And when I was 40, I could do 20 push-ups. And now I'm in my 60s, I do 20 push-ups. I've never changed.
How about the form? Are you doing the form right? That really matters.
You know, I haven't had the form analyzed.
I'll have to watch you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I'm doing it right.
Well, because it's like any other weight bearing exercise. If you don't do the form exactly right, you basically are cheating. I'm not saying you are. I have a
Mhm.
tendency to do that. Everyone does. It's so important to constantly be reminded of the proper form, even with the plank. There's so many ways to cheat on the plank. You know, you wouldn't even think about it, but there are. So, and then you don't get the benefit. That's what happens.
And the people can find the plank exercise just by Googling the plank
Yeah, they're
yoga.
all over the internet. You're just holding your elbows to the ground and you're holding your back straight. Don't lift your butt up in the air. Most people who try to do it, you just hold it. Most people who try to do that, you know, your knees are off the ground. You're just holding yourself by your elbows and your tippy toes, and be flat. And it puts tremendous pressure on your core, your front core. Most people can only do that for a few seconds starting out, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'll never." And I'm like, "No. Just try it every day, maybe a couple times a day. You improve so fast. It's crazy. You know, and
How long can you hold it?
several hundred seconds if I want to. I usually will just stop after 100 or 200 seconds because I got to get to some other things. My days are busy, and I'll come back and I'll do it again. You know,
Mm,
you just need to have a certain baseline there. I'm not in a competition or anything, but
right.
the average person will be able to easily get to 100 seconds if they practice, and it's just a matter of doing it. That's it.
All right. So let's talk a little more about diet, then we'll get into other things. Now we're in agreement that the best diet is the whole food, plant exclusive diet with no oil, no sugar,
Yes.
minimizing or eliminating processed foods,
Correct. And ideally chemical free plants. Ideally, there's something that's been harvested recently. You know, the long
organic.
yeah, the shorter the shelf life, the longer your life is how I look at that. So also raw foods, super short shelf life.
What
Eat super raw.
percentage of your diet is raw?
It's over 50%.
Okay, so
Almost
that's
all.
what you're recommending, over 50%.
Yeah, I would say living foods, should be ideally breakfast and lunch. I'll have usually cooked food for dinner. It's what we'll usually do. Occasionally, we'll have something cooked for lunch as well, but usually it's two of the meals are going to be raw, and one not.
Okay. No alcohol,
Well,
and
you can have something every once in a while, but don't ever think it's healthy. Don't ever. That's why we want to put in there. Like you hear studies, oh well, red wine and resveratrol. No, just eat some organic grapes.
yes.
They're not spoiled. They're not the rotten version of the plant. The rotten version of the plant is going to cause cancer in you.
What about fermented foods?
That's different. Yeah, I'm not really big on it. It does have a place from what I know of it. But and I have eaten some. The problem with like certain ones like sauerkraut, let's say, tons of added salt in almost every case. You got to be really, really careful about that. I mean, if you look at some of the more recent things that are coming out from folks that are analyzing the science, they're saying that added salt is one of the leading, if not the leading cause of disease in humans. Because salt or sodium is already in the plant. And I talk
Right.
about this in the book too, that I do believe that, let's say, alcohol and salt, very similar way of getting into human life. I believe that back in the day, maybe we used to live closer to the equator. I don't know. I believe that though, because we're in projects that are involved near the equator. It's so much easier to live there. Amazon rainforest is all the life right there. So probably as humans, we started to move away from the equator. You had winter. You required animal agriculture because you couldn't grow crops. You couldn't communicate with people. You couldn't refrigerate or freeze things reliably. So what did you have to do? You had to come up with alternative methods to preserve your food in addition to eating animal products. You had to get that added salt because we found that by mining that, of course, you don't grow it, you mine it, okay? And you add it to your food, that this thing would preserve it. And I get that. And then we all got hooked on it because, yeah, it does excite your taste buds. And there was a reason for it in the past. That's why you're kind of genetically, we all are predisposed to liking that. Alcohol is the same thing. You couldn't keep those grapes for like 4 months over the winter or whatever, but you could make wine out of them, right? And you could drink that. You didn't have to refrigerate it either because there wasn't any refrigerator. So again, we got hooked on that stuff, can't get off of it. That's why in 2023, it's still here, in my opinion. But we don't live in that time anymore, but we're still consuming these things. It doesn't make any sense. And that's
Right.
another reason why I think that we should easily expect a doubling of your lifespan if you use a little bit of basic knowledge, and just analyzing, why we do things and why we should or why we shouldn't do them. And that the whole book is about that, really.
Now, you're on the side of low fat, minimizing nuts and seeds and
Yes.
avocados, olives. Um, it's a controversial part of the movement because you have some of
Hmm.
the leading spokesmen, I would say, like Dr. Furman and Dr. Greger, who seem pretty high on nuts. You have some people who say, oh, there are so many studies that all show that people who eat nuts live longer.
Yes. Yep.
You have some who say that some of those studies are paid for by the nut industry. So nuts are pretty controversial in the plant-based movement.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
I can
Go ahead.
I can mention something that kind of bring all this together that you're talking about, and it involves my own personal experience. I was working with Green Fair Organic Cafe, which I mentioned in the first chapter or two, the introductory chapters.
In Herndon, Virginia.
Yeah, they're the healthiest restaurant in the world. There's no question about it. Okay. Are they perfect? No, but I don't even know what perfect is either. Okay. We're all still working on that, but they're the best. So they have a program where they'll do your biometric testing. You'll eat their food for 3 weeks and they'll test you again. All you're doing is eating their food that they're making that they serve at the restaurant. Okay. Which is crazy because we all know eating out is the worst thing for you, right?
Right.
Okay, but not a Green Fair. So I got my cholesterol tested. It was like 165, I think. When I first, or no, sorry, let me go back because I remember reading about Dr. Esselstyn around that time. It was like 149. I was right under heart attack proof, which is
Sure.
150. But that varies depending upon the hour of the day you take it. So it was too close. We would like to see it low.
Right.
And I had to give up my regular regimen of food and eat the green fare meals, which I did. I stuck to it. I ate only what they gave me, nothing else. I'm like, let's see what this is. Come back, my cholesterol's down to 116 on the way out. What was the big difference there? I realized it at the time and I stopped it. I was eating Lara bars. You know what those are?
Yes, date nut bars.
Yes, and they're like 5 ingredients, whole foods, but heavy nuts, heavy fat. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I didn't recognize the correlation between high fat and elevated blood cholesterol levels. I was always thinking, like, if I watch a What the Health movie, they're like, well, don't eat that cholesterol-laden animal meat because it's going to hurt. There may not be any correlation between eating cholesterol and raising your blood cholesterol level. We don't know that. But what I found is that there is absolutely a connection here between high fat anything, which meat is and nuts are, and raising your blood cholesterol. And I showed it in my own, biometrics.
Well,
And
I think both sides are true. If you eat cholesterol, it's going to raise your cholesterol, and
probably,
if you eat too much fat, it's going to raise your cholesterol.
yes, it probably the cholesterol, yeah, the dietary cholesterol, I would probably agree, but I can't say for sure because it gets your body does process it before it ends up in your bloodstream, but it's got TMAO and all these other bad things. We don't
Right.
want to see any of that. But yeah, the nuts. Okay, let me also say, I do believe that nuts, seeds, and avocados have some good nutrition in them, and people who are concerned about good nutrition generally take care of themselves better overall in all aspects, and generally they will live better, healthier, longer lives. So I see a giant connection there. I just would caution anyone to not overdo it. Like when we look at our standard, the healthy vegan food standard over here, we don't say no nuts, seeds, and avocados. We say no oil, because oil is the junkiest of junk foods. Human manufactured. You'll never find it in nature. All the nutrition stripped, all the fiber stripped, all the water is stripped, even though it's liquid. There's no water in there. So let's get rid of the worst thing. But yeah, you got to manage those nuts, seeds, and avocados, I would say.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I Want Tofu Tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
Okay. So if you're eating half your foods raw, half your plants raw, and you're going low on the fatty foods, that's pretty much it for diet. You just need to eat whole foods, low fat, and a good complement of raw foods.
Yeah, because when you do that, you're also going to get enough fiber. That's another thing that most people are severely deficient in. We found, Harvard University study says that 95% of humans do not get enough fiber every single day.
Right.
That's terrible. How you can expect to be feeling good, especially if that controls your gut bacteria, right? And your mental health and so many other things.
So that's the nutrition component. Let's say that gets you to age 100, 110. You still got to go another 40, 50 years. Is there a mental component to this?
Yes. I mean, for one thing, the fiber. Fiber optimizes your gut bacteria, and that
improves your mood.
Yes, yes, of course, because serotonin will either be produced or not be produced in your gut, depending upon what level of optimization you are in that gut, and that's going to depend on the amount of fiber you get. The other thing is that vigorous aerobic exercise again that I mentioned. Every day. I mean, there are some people that can get by with it, but I'm talking about the average Joe or the average Jane. You're never going to feel quite right if you don't get that, like mentally. I mean, so many people have issues, and I see people all the time too, along with that mental stuff and not getting enough exercise. Well, I have sleep problems. I talk about this in the book too. Like, Well, how much exercise are you getting every day? How tired are you when you go to bed? The average person, not tired at all. I can't believe the average person can even get to sleep at night. But if you are going to go out there and you're going to run for 30 minutes straight, let's say, depending upon the timing, let's say you have sleep problems. Well, eat a decent dinner early. Okay. Don't eat right before you go to bed. Let that digest and then go out for a run for 30 minutes. Tell me how well you sleep that night. Because I have a feeling you're going to sleep really well.
Now,
And
everybody seems to agree that you shouldn't eat late at night. Is there a lot of evidence on this?
I think that's more recent. Yes. I don't really discuss that in the book so much, but yeah, I don't think you ever want to stuff yourself and then go into a food coma, and that's the reason you go to sleep.
Because my problem is my wife and I may have dinner, let's say at 7 p.m., sometimes 8 p.m. And then I get hungry then at like 10 p.m. and I want a little snack. And I know everybody says it's wrong. But
well, ideally it's not great to eat. I'll sometimes eat right before I go to bed if I get hungry too. But I eat so well and so strict that those extra calories are actually gonna maybe bump me above the right in the middle BMI of normal, so like a point or two above the right in the middle normal there. Okay.
Mhm.
So it just depends on your eating habits. If excess weight is a clear indicator of so many other potential issues. If that's a problem at all, I'd say, yeah, never eat like that right before bed. But like I said, if you are on the other side of that spectrum, like me, then it's not really going to do anything different.
Right. Well, I'm the same weight I was in high school, so
Yeah.
I figure I'm okay. So how about exercise? You've mentioned aerobic exercise, some resistance exercise,
Yes.
right?
Yes, of course.
Tell us about the resistance exercise. What do you like to do?
You want basic strength. If you look at reasons why people get injured as they become elderly, I'd say, elderly in my mind could be like, 120.
120 and above.
Yeah. But nowadays it's like you're 80. So you're elder. And what happens when you get old? They fall. What happens when you fall? You break stuff. Why are you falling to begin with? Usually it's because of a lack of base strength. Because that strength not only keeps you propped up, it also encourages your own balance. Okay. It's easier to balance. So you're not going to fall as much. So because of that's one of the more important things as we age, and I'm saying over 50, you start to lose mass in bones potentially and muscle just every year, right? It's just going to start to wear away as we age. But you can counteract that by doing basic strength exercises, like biceps, triceps, lats, squats, anything that's going to really all the muscles. I would say you want to do all of them. Push-ups help with the chest, or you can do bench press as well, which I'll do sometimes as well. You want to have that base strength, and that's why it's important, because we don't want you to get hurt as you get older.
Do you need to join a gym, or could you do these exercises at home on a rug?
I do both. It depends. However you can work it into your routine. Make it a habit, something you want to do. And actually, what I really encourage above all else in terms of strength and base strength is don't park close to your house door. Carry heavy stuff from your car to your house, wherever you are, because you have to do that. Actually, better yet, buy a house where you can't park next to the front door, because then you have to do that. And that will make you do these basic strength exercises, and walk to the stores if you can. Carry your groceries. I do that depending upon where we are. I'm in Reston right now, and in Reston, Virginia, we live near the town center. We can walk to the Whole Foods, to the Harris Teeter. We can walk to Green Fair. I do all my shopping. I carry all the bags. And
you live where you can walk to Green Fair.
Yes.
So is that on purpose? Did you decide I'm going to live near this restaurant?
Believe it or not, I didn't know about Green Fair until I moved here.
You're kidding me.
No.
You happened to move to walking distance of the healthiest restaurant in the world?
Yes. It's
wow,
fake.
that is luck.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let me also mention.
How long is the walk for you to Green Fair?
It's about 2 miles. So some people might think that's too far, but no, not I
No,
need
that's
12,000
perfect.
steps. I need 12,000 steps every day. You know,
Yeah.
so if I go for a meal there, then I get a large chunk of that 4 miles of walking. You know,
Uh-huh.
so I still got to do a little bit more,
Yeah.
but you know,
I
so
haven't been able to measure my steps because I once got one of those Fitbit things.
right.
I wasn't able to turn it on.
Yeah, I've had them, and actually in my videos, you'll see me wearing 2 of them on each wrist. I
Yeah.
don't wear them anymore because I've, you know, the phone's really, the health apps on the phones are pretty close, and you're always carrying your phone with you. So just use that. You don't need to get anything special. Oh,
Okay.
and the strength you were talking about,
Yeah.
uh, beware of bodybuilding. Like I said, I used the term abuse earlier. Unfortunately, the reason why people don't live on average about 75 is because of the constant abuse of the habits that the habits that people have are creating abuse conditions, which is resulting in non-communicable disease. That's how it's expressed by the body. Okay. So bodybuilding, unfortunately, is not normal and in a not so good way, because what happens is you add all this excess weight to your frame. And as I said, the number one reason for back, hip, knee, and foot problems is excess weight. So you may look awesome, maybe all jacked up if you're a guy, you know, and the women may love it, but you got to decide what's more important. You know, you have to make a choice at some point, and bodybuilders are good motivators to get you to go to the gym to start lifting, but don't try to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger necessarily. Actually, I don't think he works out like he used to either anymore, by the way. I think
So
he's,
this is interesting because I'm a friend of Jeff Palmer, who I've had
yeah,
on
I
the
know Jeff.
show.
Yeah, I've seen, yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
I
he is a great looking bodybuilder. And you're saying he's making a mistake
well,
by
actually, no,
doing
I don't think he is necessarily what I'm talking about. Okay.
that? Oh, okay.
There, because also when you're into the bodybuilding world, generally the whole idea, as we know, is to be as big as possible. That's
Right.
what creates the weight problem. So as long as you are working out and you look jacked and you have a great, you know, like almost like a human anatomy when I'm looking at me standing up on the stage, and you're pretty much a normal BMI, then you're all good. I don't know. It all depends on the case by case. But if you're taking, a lot of these people take anabolic steroids and other things to get them as big as possible, which is also, you're talking chemicals. And I'm saying chemical free.
No, we're all against the steroids. But what you're saying is that Jeff is muscular, but on a human frame and not
Yeah, I mean,
steroids.
I think from what I know, he's not taking these. Well, I don't know. I mean, because then you get into the subject of isolate supplements. Okay.
Mhm.
Isolate supplements have all the fiber, nutrition, and water removed from them. It's almost like a pharmaceutical in the way that the body reacts to it, right? It's
Mhm.
just a natural form rather than a chemical form. So there's many facets. I can't say, but I would say in general, okay, the whole idea of being as big as you possibly can, right? Meaning, AKA lots of weight, because muscle weight is very heavy. All right. That's going to affect longevity.
Okay.
And
So I'm good at when I'm not too strong.
well, it's the weight. It's the
It's the
BMI.
weight.
That's
Right.
what it. Focus on BMI. Focus on not using isolates. Focus on not using chemicals. If we
Okay.
can do that, then you can do it right. Most of the bodybuilders I see are purely focused on as big a size as possible, and that's
Okay.
why I'm concerned when I
Okay.
see that. And I, you know, obviously I'm not a big guy. Mike, you might be saying, Mike, you're not that big. That's why you're saying all this. I'm like, well, you just got to look at what populations as they age and who lives longer, right? Even athletes in general, like extreme athletes, they don't live that long because they're
Mhm.
on the edge, right? They're on the edge of what's possible. There's a tremendous amount of stress. It just depends. As long as you're in that balance region, right? Because I talk about this in the book. Life is all about balance. That's what life likes. It always wants to get back to that balance point. As long as we're at that, that is key.
So doing the non-extreme exercise like walking is key.
That's the best, actually.
That's the best. And
Yeah,
you don't need the Fitbit in
yeah.
order to know that you're walking enough. And anyway, if you get divorced at 140, who gets the Fitbit? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
another,
I
it's
don't want it
another,
anymore. I
yeah.
used to use it. But also, the thing about walking is, yeah,
Yeah.
it is the best. But do you have the time? It's not very efficient. running is way more efficient than walking, but then running is, you're ramping up the impact. Okay.
Right.
So,
It's bad for the knees, right?
well, it's really only bad for the knees so much as the weight, because whenever we're talking about a weight issue, like that's why I talk about BMI. Whenever you start to get out of that normal range, and there's a range, it's a huge range in normal, but whenever you start to get above normal, you're increasing the stress on those joints exponentially.
Yeah.
Okay? Like it's not going in a linear fashion. Your body was not designed to carry all of that. It's like taking a half-ton pickup and putting like 4 tons of weight in it or something. I mean, you're going to have problems.
So we've talked about nutrition. We've talked about avoiding things like alcohol. We've talked about mindset and exercise. What else gets you to 150?
Those are most of the big ones right there. I mean,
Okay.
but really, it's injury, avoiding injury of all kinds. I'd say it makes.
Well, you see,
all kinds.
that gets me back to exercise, because avoiding injury of all kinds. I have stopped jogging on the streets because I'm worried that that's not going to be good for the knees. But what I do is I run in place on an area rug, usually barefoot. So I feel that I'm not. I'm running the when you run on the street, I think your feet tend to land flat. You run in place, you're running like those long distance runners from Kenya whose
On your
whose feet
toes, yeah. Actually,
on your toes.
the more people I talk to say like that's actually the best way to do it, and
Yeah.
I've always kind of done that. And people who explain it to me, who probably have more knowledge than I do, say it is a function of the weight, because if you weigh a certain amount, you can't do that.
Right.
You have to be in the right range of weight in order to be able to do that.
Right.
So that's good. That means that you are doing a lot of things right.
Now, is there a spiritual component to living to 150?
Well, I would say for many, yes. And it depends on what facet you're looking at, because spiritual, I'd also bring community into that. Those two, because some people are not spiritual at all, or not religious at all, or whatever, but they still value community.
Right.
So you want to surround yourself with like minds. You want to try to always improve. I talk about this in the book too. If you're not trying to improve actively, you're going to be regressing. I don't believe anyone stays the same. It's either one or the other. So you need to get around people. And if you're spiritual, you're working on improving your mental state, right? From what you can, from controlling your thoughts. I talk about this in the book too, about it's not only what you're putting in your mouth as food that you're feeding yourself. What are you feeding your eyes? What are you feeding your ears? So a lot of that spiritual will address these things. And of course, just like avoiding injury we talked about, avoiding garbage going in your eyes, garbage going in your ears. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just like I don't want you to eat garbage for food either. All of these things are important.
Have you thought of starting a meetup group for living to 150, but nobody is allowed in until they're at least 120?
That would be great. You
Yeah,
got 55
but
plus communities, right?
No, but you got to be 120 or more to get into the meetup group, and then we all talk about how to get to 150.
Yeah.
That would be exclusive.
Yeah, well, 55 plus communities are the only form of real estate that you can discriminate against someone nowadays.
Right,
Okay,
right.
is that age? Some of them I've seen now, they're bumping them up. I've seen 62 plus now. And
Yeah.
yeah, a meetup group. I don't know. I guess we could do whatever we want. It's totally private. So yeah, that would be great. And I would love to see real estate too. That's not. How about 100 plus? 100 plus retirement community. And
Right.
as I mentioned, we're involved in stuff in Ecuador. I hope that as time goes on, you will see that they're kind of reinventing society at these communities. And these are all on our website. Terra Fruitus is one, Fruit Haven's another. We even have a rental property on Airbnb. You can experience it if you want. But those hopefully will have lots of people living very, very long time, and maybe they'll have a little division like you're talking about, where you have to be 100 years old in order to meet for lunch on Sunday.
Right. Now the Blue Zone books by Dan Buettner.
Yeah.
He basically talks about areas of the world where people often become centenarians.
Yes.
You're going 50% better than that.
Yes,
So
yes.
what's he missing?
Okay. Well, first of all, we are Blue Zone's recognized organization. Our plantbaseddiet.org, we've gone through their process years ago. Okay. We do a lot of events in Southwest Florida. That is where Blue Zones has their own community operations down there in Southwest Florida. So we did that. They're doing an awesome job. If you look at what they're doing, though, they are not talking about a fully plant-based diet. They are not. Okay.
Right.
They do not say you can't or you shouldn't ever think that alcohol has anything beneficial. They don't take that stance. Okay. So there's a number of things, and the diet is, as we discussed, is the most important to me. Yeah, these Blue Zones have done a fantastic job, over the time that they've been in existence, and we're looking at them now in a historical perspective. We're looking back. So I think we can do better. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think that there's more knowledge now, and let's take that knowledge. Let's challenge ourselves. Like, for instance, when we go and visit the community Terra Frutis in Ecuador, there are people there that are really challenging me. I'm just telling you. Okay. I learned a lot from the folks there.
What have you learned from them?
Well, let's see. First of all, did you know that there's such a thing, you may know, as a fruitarian?
Fruitarian.
Yes.
Just eating fruit. Sure.
Correct. So greens are not fruit. Nuts and seeds are not fruit either.
Right.
All right. But yeah, that may be, we don't know, even better. I'm not saying that it is, because I don't know. And if you talked about spiritual aspects, right? I talked about some of this could be a practice from Christianity or other religions. Like if you look at the Bible, they talk about, was it the Garden of Eden? I think they were only eating fruit, right? In the Garden of Eden, I think. I mean, I need to look into it more. But if that's the case, then maybe none of this is new that we're talking about, but I don't know. I simply don't know. I'm only going to say what I said in the book from my own experience, because I have never lived a life of 100% fruitarian. But there are people at Terra Frutis who are living that life right now. My neighbors.
Right.
Not all of them, some of them.
That means no pasta. It means no rice.
That's right. Yes.
And
even prepared. It's even more strict than just raw food in general, because like we go to the event they have every year, the Amazon Fruit Festival. All right. It's a once a year event. It's a raw vegan event. And some of the neighbors go there and they either will or they won't eat some of the food, maybe as a treat, but not really, because it's not part of their diet. And these are things like you can make pizza, lasagna, raw, all raw, don't cook it. You can make Mediterranean dishes, all raw, don't cook it. That's not part of the fruitarian diet, even though it's all raw, but there's so many levels to this. Once you really dive into who's out there doing the most they possibly can, there are so many more levels that you may not be aware of.
Okay. Now we're talking about living to 150, the challenge, the serious challenges involved in that, but we got another problem, which is, will the planet live that long? Now, of course, the planet will go on even if life doesn't. But what I'm saying is, will a sustainable planet be here for us when we're 150? So
okay,
what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, I mentioned these communities in Ecuador are Terra Frutis, at least, is zero waste. I think we know there's a big trash whatever floating around in the Pacific. Okay.
Right.
I mean, we can't keep throwing everything away. Okay. So you got to go zero waste. So they're doing that. And a lot of what they're doing, and a lot of what we found in our own organization is that if you look at the three aspects generally that are considered to be vegan, they are human health, environmental protection, and protection of animals, not harming animals wherever possible. So the more strict of the three that we always find is human health. The more you optimize your health, the more you are going to already have taken care of the other two parts, meaning environmentalism and not hurting other animals. So that's what we choose to focus on. We think that covers the other ones automatically when you choose to focus on that, because we do agree that it is a problem. We have to make sure that nature itself, not just the internal human body that I have remaining in balance, because that's what my book is about, how I do that. But the planet must remain in balance as well.
Okay. So tell our listeners how they find you.
All right. Well, this is everything we have is on this website, aplantbaseddiet.org. The
Okay.
book is at live to 150, liveto 150.org. And we didn't even mention this, but we have an event coming up in January called the Health Optimization Cruise. So healthoptimizationcruise.org, or just go here. It's on there too. Everything, Terra Fruitus, Fruit Haven, those communities are all on here. Our rental property is on this website. It's a lot of information on that website.
What's going on with the cruise, and do you worry about the cruise's effect on the planet?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, we have a brand new ship. It's got the latest tech. When I say tech, I mean efficiencies. And yeah, people complain about cruises, but you know what? They compare cruising to flying. Cruising is the whole vacation. Flying is just getting you there and back.
Yeah.
You can't compare them. What you want to do is just like you do with a car. Your old cars from the 70s and 80s, like pretty much puffed out black smoke from when they were new in the factory. Nowadays, they're so much more friendly. They have so many more regulations they have to meet to make sure they're not polluting. So get the newest. We have a brand new ship. It hasn't even sailed yet, actually. It starts sales in November, and then we get on in January.
So what's going to be on this cruise? Who's going to be there?
Okay, well, we have some doctors because I don't practice medicine. So let's bring on some lifestyle medicine doctors, like I talked about, some enlightened doctors, which is Dr. Jim Loomis from PCRM. He was in the Game Changers movie. We have Karen Dugan from the Center for Plant-Based Living in Missouri. She and Dr. Loomis have a show called Doc and Chef now, where he explains the science and she explains how to cook it, prepare the food. Okay. So we have them. They'll be with us the entire time. We also have Dr. Scott Harrington from Vegan Primary Care. He is just a regular doctor, but he is enlightened. He understands all of these lifestyle medicine concepts, and he'll be with us the whole cruise too. And there's others. Just go to healthoptimizationcruise.org. And the food. This is the most important thing, because one of the reasons why we are doing this, we've been planning it since last December, is because I'm tired of getting sick or recovering from travel. Okay. And why do I have to recover? Is because the food is less than even our minimum standard of health. So of course, if everything I'm saying is true, of course I'm going to get sick eating food that's below the standard. And I do. Just ask my wife. I know I'm just very sensitive. It hits me right away. I'm like the canary in the coal mine. Everybody else takes 10, 20, 30 years, but eventually it gets them. It does. Okay. I'm just giving you a little warning ahead of time, you know?
So how many days is this cruise, and where are you going?
7 days out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, into the Caribbean in the coldest part of the year, the second week of January. So
why the coldest part of the year?
I don't like cold. Actually, that's another thing. I talk about this in the book. I really do think that if we're designed to eat plants grown locally, outdoors with the sun, which I do believe is of greater benefit than indoor farming, although we see a place for indoor farming, they cannot reproduce the sun indoors. Not really. The sun is the most powerful. The sun will blind you if you look at it, right? We all know this. So if you want that, where can you do that? You know, even Florida in the US, well, you're going to get battered by hurricanes. It's insanely hot in the summertime. Okay. These places are, and you have to use HVAC, right? In Florida in the summertime. You're going to live in Florida without air conditioning in the summer? No. Yeah. So that's a huge burden on the planet, right? It's not very efficient. In Ecuador, in these communities, our house has screens all over it. No HVAC needed at all. That's why there's so much life, so many species of plants and animals. Okay. This is not by chance. Okay.
So you chose January to help people living in cold climates escape the cold. Is that
yes,
it?
Because I have seasonal affective disorder. I talk about that. There's a chapter on that. The other side, there's a standard American diet. There's seasonal affective disorder. And yes, I do believe it affects people. You talked about mental. I think it affects your mood as well. Okay. I think that this sun is extremely important, and there is no substitute, by the way. And they say, oh, just do the light therapy. No. If it's dark when I finish my workday at 5 o'clock and I go out for my walk that I do every day, and it's dark, there's no making up for that, you know? So you have to be closer to where you have more sun. So we'll be closer on the boat. The food will all meet our healthy vegan food standard. Nobody's ever done a cruise or a vacation like that, really, ever. So we see it as a new paradigm of travel as well, is what we're hoping.
So where can people find information on the cruise again?
Healthoptimizationcruise.org. Or you can just go to our website and just click on the tab that says Health Optimization Cruise.
All
So
right.
yeah. And so we're excited. I mean, I'm an optimist. You can tell. I mean, I love your questions. I love your what are you going to do at 140? You know, divorce. No, I need, this is getting my mind moving now. Maybe I need to write.
You're considering the divorce at 140 option?
It has to be considered because if we're living that long,
yeah,
and it's not going to be handled in the same way as some 30-year-olds battling it out in court. I mean, it's just, you know.
Well, we'll talk this over with your wife after the show and see if, you know, at 140, you just say, you know, that's enough time together. I think that case could be reasonably made.
It could be because, like, if as I mentioned, and I talk about this in the book, you're either growing and doing better or you're regressing.
Yeah.
You can get to that point in your relationship with someone.
Right.
I do talk about this in the book too. There's certain chapters on different relationships, who you choose to hang out with, because you do become like the 5 people you hang out with the most. It's different now. In 1980s, when I was growing up, it really was the 5 people right there. Because if you had somebody on the phone, you were on a cord connected to the wall, and you knew exactly where they were too. It was weird, and it was expensive, by the way, to make long distance calls. But now our 5 people can be anywhere around the globe. You just have to be intentional about it. You know, and
what's this 5 people you're referring to? 5.
All right. Well, this is just I would say a life axiom. All right. I think it's just there's certain truths, which is everyone is subject to this. No one is immune. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay. So you need to choose wisely, especially if your goal is health, fun, not being chronically ill, and longevity. Health span and longevity. If that's your goal, you have to be very specific, hyper specific in who you're hanging out with. And a lot of people, even though they mean well, they will, just being around them will hurt your ability to accomplish what you want to do in your life. And as far as I know, we each have one chance at life. You know, I know there's others that think different. I don't know. I know for sure. I know one time. That's it.
Yeah. We could be pretty sure of the one time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Mike.
Same here.
And let's do this again some other time.
Yes, please. It'd be great. In another 50 or 100 years.
Yeah, we can do it sooner than that. So everybody, thank you for listening. Please remember to like or subscribe or post comments. And see you next time. This has been the Glenn Mercer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at the Glenn Mercer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.